It was a cold winter night in New Orleans. The restaurant was almost empty, and the rain outside tapped against the window like a lonely rhythm. A tired waiter named Samuel wiped down the last table, dreaming of going home. But just as he turned to leave, the door opened and two small children stepped inside. They were soaked, shivering, and clearly hungry. Their clothes were thin, their faces pale, and their eyes told a story no child should ever live. That night, Samuel made a choice. A small act of kindness. One that would disappear into the quiet of the night, or so he thought, but 22 years later, his kindness would return to him in a way he could never have imagined. Hey everyone, welcome to Whispers of Goodness, where real stories remind us that kindness still moves the world. If you enjoy heart-touching stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's begin this unforgettable story of how a simple meal changed two lives. And then, much later, changed one more. Back in 1999, Samuel Harris was 32 years old. He worked long shifts as a waiter at a small family restaurant in downtown New Orleans. He didn't make much money, but he was proud of his job. He treated every guest with care, because to him, service wasn't just a duty, it was a way of showing respect. Samuel had grown up poor himself. His mother raised him and his two sisters alone. Many nights, they ate only cornbread and beans, but they shared what little they had. That upbringing made Samuel humble and kind. On that cold December night, business had been slow. The restaurant owner had already told Samuel to close up after the last guest. The lights were dim, the smell of soup still lingered in the air, and Samuel was stacking chairs when the bell above the door jingled. He turned around, surprised. Two children stood there, a boy around 10, and a girl maybe 8. They looked scared, their shoes dripping puddles onto the floor. Samuel's first thought was, where are their parents? He walked over and gently said, "Hey there, kids. You all lost?" The boy swallowed hard before answering, We're just hungry, sir. We haven't eaten today." Samuel's heart tightened. He knew that kind of hunger. The kind that burns deep but feels like emptiness. He looked around. His boss had already gone home. The kitchen was closing, and the food was supposed to be thrown away in a few minutes. He didn't even hesitate. "Come on, sit down right there," he said, pointing to a booth near the window. "I'll get you something warm." Samuel hurried into the kitchen. He found 2 bowls of chicken soup still hot, a few pieces of cornbread, and some leftover pie. He brought them out on a tray and placed them in front of the children. "Eat as much as you want," he said softly. "You're safe here." The little girl whispered, "Thank you, sir," before taking her first spoonful. Samuel sat across from them, watching them eat. He didn't ask many questions. He could tell they'd been through enough already. But after a while, the boy spoke up. "Our parents died last year," he said quietly. "We've been staying in an old shelter, but it closed last week. We were walking to the next town." Samuel felt a lump in his throat. These children had no one, and yet, they still said thank you. When they finished eating, Samuel packed them a small bag with bread, fruit, and a blanket he found in the supply room. He gave them $20 from his own pocket before they left. The boy looked up and asked, "Sir, what's your name?" "Samuel," he said with a smile. "I'll remember that," the boy promised, and then they disappeared into the rainy night. Years passed. Samuel continued to work at restaurants around New Orleans. He never became rich, but he became known as the kind waiter who always had a smile and a story for everyone. Time moved on. His hair began to gray, his hands became rougher from years of work. Yet, in his heart, he carried the memory of those 2 children. He sometimes wondered what had happened to them, but life went on. By 2021, Samuel had been promoted to the head waiter at a well-known hotel restaurant, a fancy place where businessmen, celebrities, and tourists dined every night. He still lived modestly, in a small apartment not far from work. But he was content. He had peace, and he still treated every guest with kindness. Then one morning, something extraordinary happened. Samuel arrived at work early, like he always did. He straightened the tablecloths, polished the silverware, and prepared for the breakfast rush. Suddenly, the hotel doorman ran in, eyes wide. "Sam, you won't believe this," he said. "There's a Rolls-Royce parked right outside, and someone's asking for you by name." Samuel blinked in confusion. "For me? That must be a mistake." But when he stepped outside, there it was, a shining black Rolls-Royce, glimmering in the morning sun. A chauffeur stood beside it, holding the door open. Out stepped a tall man in a tailored suit. His smile was warm, familiar somehow. "Mr. Samuel Harris?" the man asked. "Yes, sir," Samuel said. Puzzled, the man extended his hand. "You probably don't remember me. But 22 years ago, you fed 2 hungry orphans. I was that boy." Samuel froze. His heart skipped a beat. The man continued. "My name's Michael. That little girl you helped, she's my sister, Anna. You saved our lives that night. You gave us food, safety, and hope. We never forgot you." Tears filled Samuel's eyes. "Michael, is it really you?" Michael nodded. "We were taken in by a kind family not long after that. They helped us finish school, and I eventually built a company in Chicago. We've done well. And today, I came back because I never got to thank you properly." Samuel was speechless. He looked at the Rolls-Royce, then back at Michael. Michael smiled and said, "Come with me, please. There's something I want to show you." They drove across town to a newly renovated building. It was bright, painted in soft colors, with a sign above the door that read, "Samuel's Place, a home for kids in need." Samuel turned to Michael, stunned. This is named after me?" he asked. Michael nodded. "Yes. My sister and I built this shelter in your honor. Because your kindness that night taught us something we never forgot, that one person's goodness can change everything." Samuel wiped his eyes. For a moment, he couldn't speak, then Michael handed him an envelope. Inside were papers. "Also," Michael said softly, "this building isn't just named after you. It's yours. You'll run it, if you want to. I want these kids to know what real kindness looks like." Samuel could no longer hold back his tears. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. "Just keep doing what you've always done," Michael replied. "Be kind." That night, Samuel stood outside the building, looking at the sign that carried his name. He thought back to that rainy night 22 years ago, to 2 hungry children and a bowl of soup. He realized something powerful. Kindness never dies. It travels. It moves from one heart to another, sometimes quietly, sometimes grandly, but it always returns. In the months that followed, Samuel's Place became a safe haven for hundreds of children. Samuel poured his soul into it, teaching kids how to cook, read, and believe in themselves. Reporters came, stories were written, and people from all over the city donated to help. But Samuel never sought fame. He only smiled and said, "If you can be kind, be kind. The world always remembers." Years later, when Samuel passed away peacefully in his sleep, the shelter held a candlelight vigil. Children, grown-ups, and families came together, people who had been touched by his kindness, and on the front steps, a single Rolls-Royce was parked, a white flower resting on its hood. Kindness had come full circle. So the next time you see someone in need, remember Samuel's story. You never know how far a small act of goodness can travel, or how deeply it can change a life. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it so others can feel the same warmth, because here, on Whispers of Goodness, we believe one kind act can ripple across generations, and who knows, maybe one day, kindness will find its way back to your door too.